So a very warm welcome. Today we have the pleasure of meeting Mr. Sunil Gupta, who's the co-founder, managing director, and CEO of Yotta Infrastructure. Warm welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So we have few questions for you today, in and around Yotta's growth journey, and we would want to also learn from you few statements that can be passed upon what the market is and what the industry is really doing.
Sure.
Right? So the first question which I have for you is that with the data explosion, the rapid adoption of cloud computing, and the government's approach when it comes to make India digital.
That's true.
There's a lot of growth, a lot of demand when it comes to data centers, and we have also seen Yotta really aggressively working towards it. Coming out with new data centers, coming out with the larger production value.
Right.
I would want to understand how do you fare when it comes to your competition, and how do you really position your product when it comes to the market?
Thank you. I tell you, first is background. Yes, the whole background is I have been working in the industry practically for more than 25 years now. Majority of my career has gone into data centers. So this has given me an opportunity to see the industry from the time it was in inception, when the internet itself was coming into India. And of course, data center is a part and parcel of the whole internet ecosystem.
Right.
So whether it was the dot-com boom of early 2000 to the dot-com bust which happened after that, and then the maturing of the industry with the enterprise workload start coming in. Parallelly, the network was changing from a dial-up modem to a 2G network, to a 3G network, to a 4G network, and now we are seeing the inception of 5G coming in, broadband coming in.
Yeah.
In between, somewhere around 2008-9, the e-commerce wave, which was again propelled by network and many other drivers coming in, started coming in. Flipkart, Snapdeal started coming in our lives. And somewhere around 2010-11, the cloud coming in India. All these things have sort of shaped this data center industry and the cloud industry in different various ways, and have been witness to that, how exactly this change has come about. One of the significant change based on these multiple drivers came was around 2013-14, where the international cloud operators, the hyperscale cloud operators, the Amazons, the Googles, and the Microsoft Azures of the world, they decided that if they have to target this burgeoning market called India,
Right.
The only way they can do it is by setting up their cloud nodes in India, right? Because whether it is a concern of the data localization or the concern of the user experience, because unless the cloud is in India, you will not have a very good, low latency type of experience to the users. So they will have to put the cloud in India, and in India, in generally, we know that once you give a good technology in the hands of Indian users, whether consumers or enterprises, they will just adopt it with full steam.
Yeah.
But you need to give the right value for money and the right features to them. And the same thing was happening to cloud. So around 2013-14, I know this cloud operator started searching Indian market for data center. And 2015, I was the one who first actually hosted one large cloud operator in my data center in my previous stint. And the business size which they gave to me was equal to what as an industry we used to do it in 4 years. And for them, it was just a starting point.
Yeah.
And by the time I delivered to them, the second one came, and they say, I want an equal large setup. By the time I delivered to them, the third one came. And by the time I was serving the third one, the first one came with much larger requirement, because they had suddenly become very big in India. So this is something which is continuing till date in India.
Right.
And I saw this cycle happening for almost 4 or 5 years before I started Yotta, and that is something which convinced me that if I would say the tipping point of industry has come in. So if you really want to tap this industry on a larger way, the people with the right resources, not only the skill sets of data centers and cloud, but the people who have resources, in data centers, while you may be running digitization and IP and AI on the top, but fundamentally what is running behind is still a very big physical building with lots of power and lots of cooling and lots of the physical attributes of a building. The cloud ultimately is still running in a physical building. So you deal with issues like land and power and fiber connectivity and many of the issues associated with that. So the idea was, if you are able to bring the skill sets of the people like me and my team who know data centers, the IT part of the world, with the resources and skills of the people who are from real estate and infrastructure industry like Hiranandanis, which are the promoters of Yotta, you are actually making the real heady mix, you know, to take this industry to the next level. You can literally then decide, and that is where my first part comes off of Yotta, how I differentiate myself and what we are doing, what is my mandate is, we are building very large scale campuses. Nowhere I go for a single building. I always take a campus approach, an ecosystem approach. So if I deliver the first building, my first building when I started in Mumbai about 3 years back, it actually became almost 3 times bigger than any data center building in India at that time. It became the world's second largest uptime tier 4 building at that time. You know, it was just unheard of. And that was just first building. That campus can grow to 6 times bigger than that because it's a campus approach, right? So everything from fiber to power and everything, we try to think that tomorrow if I have to campus has to grow to 10 times, can I do that? 1.5 years later, we got a chance. There was another global cloud operator who said, Sunil, can you deliver me similar setup in Delhi? And we ended up starting our project in Delhi based on that. And again, we took that. We didn't see what is the demand at that time. We took a longer term approach, ended up buying a large piece of land. And again, we had developed a campus and sharp 18 months, you won't believe. And of course, it had to do with so much of the support of the governments, also both central government and state governments, that from the time at the peak of COVID, we actually bought the land just by the output of a drone shooting. We never physically visited the land. We bought the land, and within 18 months, we were live, up and commissioned data center, and we handed over to the customer. And that also again came because every single skill set, beside the resources, every single skill set from the acquisition of land to government approvals, permitting, to the design, engineering, construction, operations of data center is all in-house at Yotta. So what I'm able to bring in is summarizing scale, large campuses, I would say deep pockets, so you are able to sustain those cycles of investment and then waiting for the returns to come in. All the skill sets having end-to-end within in-house, so you don't have to depend on third parties, you know, to do what you are doing. One part. Second part, what we are doing is, we are not just restricting ourselves to just the physical building and what we call as co-location, space, power and cooling. The majority of the enterprise ecosystem today is saying, deliver me end-to-end services, deliver me cloud services, deliver me public cloud, private cloud, federated cloud, deliver me cyber security services, deliver me application services. So what we are doing is, on the top of the foundation which we have done, we have created a huge layer of IT services. So we are delivering IT services, right, which includes of course cloud, various forms of cloud and other services to the customers. So on one side, take it like this, on one side you'll have hyperscale customers consuming large co-locations from me, but on the other side I'll have thousands of enterprises of all sizes who are consuming services from me, and I'm continuously investing into people and skills and processes and everything which goes with that to deliver end-to-end IT services to the customer. This is something which is just unique, none of my competition is doing. And the third piece is, as we go more and more deeper into AI, IoT, big data type of use cases, the data centers cannot remain centralized at some locations. Data centers will have to go into the fields. You will have to go to edge data centers, right? Data centers will have to go into tier 2 and tier 3 cities also, so that the data generated at the endpoint, let's say a connected car or a factory or any robot, it comes to a data center right next to them within microsecond, and after processing in microseconds the output, whatever it is, it goes to that machine and sensor to do something. That is the third aspect which we have taken, that besides the central data center, we are also now going end-to-end into edge data centers across the country. So 3 dimensions, large central data centers. Second, complete range of value-added services from this data center. Third, you go horizontal and also go into the field and create edge data centers also. That is what I think is I would say is a comprehensive strategy, not like vis-a-vis competition, but I would say to really deliver the infrastructure layer which digital India wants, you know, to achieve the mission which our government and India has taken basically.
Wonderful. I think a follow-up question, you know, what really comes with that growth with that booming in terms of the number of data centers coming up, I believe there's also a need to be much more sustainable.
That's true.
Right? So how does Yotta, join the circular economy? How do you reduce the carbon footprint? And most importantly, what is your commitment when it comes to net zero?
So I think in a way India is, I would say, fortunate that it came later into this whole industry. I mean, scaling up later in the industry.
Right.
Because some of the other mature industries, countries like Singapore, they matured, they saturated, and there was the time came a few years back where almost 8% of the whole power which is being consumed by Singapore was actually getting consumed only in few buildings in that city country, which were data centers.
Right.
And government had to put a moratorium that you can no more build any data center, and now they have opened the moratorium with a mandate that it will be small data centers and only with the the green energy. So in India, because we are scaling up now, so we are able to, as an industry and not only Yotta, we are able to factor in green power aspects in our designs and in our execution and operation right from start. So what we are doing as Yotta is two things. Number one is the type of power, and second is the amount of power. These are the two aspects of how you green it. In terms of type of power, it is by default. One thing what we have done is that because of our scale, we are going for our own power distribution licenses. So I have a lots of control in terms of what type of input power I am taking, right? So today, even today, minimum 25% of the power which I consume in my data centers, both in Mumbai and Delhi, is actually green power. That is the minimum thing which I need to do, and I am doing it right now. As my power intake is scaling up, the regulatory framework in India also allows that you can enter into what we call as the open access arrangements with the green power producers, whether it is solar, whether it is wind, whether it is natural gas, and they will feed into the grid and you can just draw it. Good part in India is that you don't have to balance between the need of cost optimization and greening, because solar and wind power in India is not only making you green and you are making you responsible citizen, but also is cost effective by almost 15% compared to the power which you get from the grid. So it is actually both commercially or socially, both way it is good for you that you get into green, and that is what, as I said, I am doing. In fact, many of my global customers who are also signatory to the Paris Treaty are forcing me to sign contractually that within 3 or 4 years I need to reduce my carbon footprint by let's say 75% compared to what it is today.
That's huge.
You know, so we are open. Not only we are taking the right steps of consuming the right green energy and signing up those open access contracts, but I am also willing to go the last mile of signing those contracts with customer and giving my commitment that in 5 years I will reduce my carbon footprint to less than say 25% compared to what it is today. So that is in terms of type of power. Second part of greening is the amount of power you consume. The power which goes into the IT equipment, possibly you can't control it beyond a point, because that is in the hands of the chip manufacturer, that how efficient chip they are making. But what is in my hand is the power which goes towards cooling of the data centers, and that is where your design of data center comes in. You won't believe, again, we were pioneers that we built data centers in India with a PUE, power usage effectiveness, of 1.4, which essentially means that for every 1 unit of power by the IT equipment, only 0.4 extra unit will go towards cooling the data center. In India, it used to be 0.7 or 0.8 just few years back. We have brought those I would say benchmarks to 0.4. My actual running of data centers actually is also happening almost around those numbers, which actually is making sure that we are saving the power as much as possible. The witness to this aspect is that my Mumbai data center is LEED certified gold, and recently when we launched our Delhi data center, it is actually LEED certified platinum data center, which is like first of its kind in Asia, that you have got a data center of a scale which we have built, which is actually LEED platinum certified. So that's what we are doing.
Wonderful, sir. So indigenization is the way forward for India. How are you looking at it in terms of your business, and how has the progress been in creating an indigenous cloud hosting platform?
Thanks for asking this question. This is very close to my heart. So as I said that besides building data centers, of this large scale, one of the fundamental things we are trying to do to support Digital India is to also not only deliver all the IT services on the top of that, including cloud services, but also build our own homegrown, in my language, Desi cloud.
Right.
Today in India, majority of the cloud hosting is dominated by the three large hyperscale cloud operators, which are non-Indian: Amazon, Azure and Google. Even the cloud operators otherwise who are Indian data center operator but running their own cloud, even there the underlying licensing for the cloud is also owned by foreign operators like VMware, for example.
Right.
That actually does not contribute to making a truly Indian cloud, which from the point of view of tax revenues to the Indian government, or from the point of view of a real good Indian regulatory control over cloud, those do not actually, I would say, those clouds you cannot really call them the real true Indian clouds.
Right.
We, while I started delivering cloud 3 years back, and I can truly say that I was not, it was not having 100% Indian cloud, but because of this demand, and government also is quite vocal about it, the need of this, with the geopolitical scenario which we all know, we started building our own open source based cloud about 1.5 years back. This is something which is, I would say, first time any operator in the industry has thought of, I would say, putting so much stakes. There is almost like a team of 200 engineers from India and abroad, it's all Indian engineers, who are working on my new cloud. I call it internally Cloud 3.0, which is completely open source based, which even when I launch, on a commercial basis in October this year, it will have almost 50 services, which constitute almost 85% of the revenues of the hyperscale operators. So all the essential IaaS and PaaS services which are relevant to the users will be all available with the same user experience, with the same scalability. On a very large scale, I'm doing it with 3 regions being launched right on day 1, which is Mumbai, Delhi and Ahmedabad.
Okay.
I think the benefits of this are immense. Okay, before I do that, there is another thing we are doing. We are under no delusions that suddenly one fine day I'll launch and it will just replace the existing cloud operators. We understand that if others have taken years to come to the level where they are, for us also it will take some time before go there, and for us to take the mind share of whether it's government customer or enterprise customer will take time. And there will always be coexistence where customer would like to put some workloads on my cloud, but some workloads possibly on their own private cloud, and some workloads still on a public cloud of other operators. So besides making my own truly Indian Desi cloud, I have also developed something called multi-cloud orchestrator platform, where if a customer is coming on his, let's say, my customer portal,
Right.
he actually is not only getting the option of consuming my cloud, but they also can consume the services of other cloud operators as well.
Okay.
So we are actually working, which we sometimes say that sabka saath sabka vikas types of theory, that we are understanding the true customer needs, right? While they would like to go to a platform like me, which is giving them much more safety, security and a local cloud and possibly very cost effective cloud, but they also, for certain services which possibly I may not give day 1, I am also making sure that they are able to burst into and use the services of other cloud operators as well. And both these layers, my own cloud as well as multi-cloud orchestrator and a marketplace which I am building on the top of that to promote Indian application providers, is something which we are making purely in-house. So I am just waiting to launch the service. August I will make it open as a beta launch, and October is something when we will be launching it commercially for all the Indian enterprise and government users.
I think I'll wish you all the best for that. This brings us to the last leg of our interaction today. I wanted to understand what is your take when it comes to AI, and what is its usage really when it comes to data centers?
If I start talking in terms of everything about AI, you know that we will be needing like hours and hours to talk about it. So I will restrict myself to the impact of AI on data centers.
Right.
I think this is the next one big wave, right? This combined heady mix of data being generated, unstructured data being generated from every single sensor, every single being device, across our homes, across our offices, across malls, across fields, everywhere you are collecting data today. Even right now when we are talking, our mobiles, Alexas and Siris are listening to what we are doing,
Absolutely.
our positions and everything is clear to everybody. So data is being collected all the time. This unstructured data, at the end of the day, what is AI? It is nothing but just collecting all this data, trying to understand the pattern of this, making the machine intelligent, and then machines start giving you decisions based on the data which has been fed into this. That is what exactly is AI. So by default, it means that AI needs a huge storage to store that data, which is unlimited because that data is keep on getting generated. Then to analyze and process that data, to run those algorithms, and then to actually start giving the decisions to the end users who want to make use of that. By definition, this means a whole lot of storage and processing capabilities, both at the central data centers and also at the edges, because for many use cases of AI, the data processing and storage will have to be happening right in the end device itself, like a connected car, or maybe in the edges at the the nearest city level data centers.
Right.
So the impact of AI on data centers, number one is scale. I think none of us can predict how large impact it will be, and that possibly explains the rush of building more and more capacity in India,
Yes.
which we all are doing. The industry already has grown from 200 megawatt to 800 megawatt in the last 7 years.
Right.
We are expecting it to become another 4 times, 3000 to 3200 in next 7 years. And I would still say that this also still does not cover the full impact of AI into this. So industry is going to go, I would say 10 times or 15 times thanks to the impact of AI. Second is the industry will start growing horizontally, as I said, that besides the central data centers, the AI use cases will make all of us also start making small edge data centers also across the nook and corner of the country. And the third piece I would again say is that purely giving the capacity to store data may not be enough. All the people who are coming, the smart startups who are coming with these use cases of AI, they are in a hurry. They want to scale up very fast. They really don't want to build infrastructure or invest into these type of infrastructure.
Right.
They should be able to take risks.
Right.
For that, somebody like us should be able to give them ready applications that come, test it. If you fail very fast, and if you succeed, you should be able to scale very fast. So only when I bring all the three elements, coming back again to the Yotta proposition, I should be able to give them a hugely scalable infrastructure. That's what I'm building. I should be able to give them data centers, the edges, so that they can run their AI use cases there. And third is I'm able to give them the real service layer to run their AI quickly, test it out, scale it out, and that's what again I'm doing. So impact of AI is all. Huge data centers, spread out data centers, and a whole lot of service layer which will start coming in to support those use cases.
I believe with these three attributes, I think Yotta infrastructure has got us covered when it comes to the data needs.
That is what we are trying to do, and we are all learning all the time. This is what I would say is my learning as of now, and we are trying to fine tune our strategy based on that. But it's like a learning every single day. Possibly next time when we meet, I may have some more learning. I will tell you this is one thing I have taken in strategy, and my new strategy is this. That is what we are trying to do all the time.
Wonderful chatting with you, sir, today.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the very best for the upcoming launches.
Thank you.
And I hope we get to meet again soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.